The Board of Aldermen will now come to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Schweitzer, Alderman Oldenburg, Alderman Cone, Alderman Narayan, Alderman Balmer, Alderwoman Velazquez, Alderwoman Sanye, Alderwoman Spencer, Alderman Browning, Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, Alderwoman Keys, Alderwoman Tyus, Alderwoman Boyd, Alderman Aldridge, President Green,
Present.
Alderman Oldenburg, Alderman Cone, Alderwoman Velazquez, Alderwoman Sanye, Alderwoman Spencer, Alderwoman Tyus,
Present.
Alderwoman Boyd. 9 present, you have quorum.
A quorum being present will be led in an opening reflection and prayer by Diana Lucas.
Good morning. Glad to see you all. Blessings. So I'm here to share a little good cheer this morning. Everybody's standing up. So I'm going to take advantage of that opportunity to say, let's stretch. If you're up for it, deep breath in, exhale, arms come up, big breath. And if you're comfortable, bring it all the way out if you're not going to hit someone on the side of you. And then if you're comfortable, please take a seat. So thank you for having me this morning. It's really an honor to be here. For someone who doesn't work in city government, I seem to know a lot about city government these days. I live in the city, I work in the city, and I love the city. I was doing the math this morning, and I've been back here for almost 35 years. And what I want to say to you all is thank you so much for your hard work, because in that time, I've seen enormous progress. It's so much different than when I was a kid growing up. It's so much different than when I moved back here in 1991, and it keeps improving thanks to your hard work. So what I also know from where I live is the job that you do can be extraordinarily stressful. Among other things, I'm a full-time caregiver for my 93-year-old dad. And so that takes a little bit of toll on your body when you're doing something more than just your everyday job. Stress can really build up. So what I really thought about offering you this morning that could really be more beneficial than any words is some movement that I offer every day when I'm teaching. I teach yoga. I've been teaching yoga at the Grand Basin in Forest Park for 18 years, which is such a beautiful gift to our community and really to me. And that space provides so much peace and comfort to so many people, even people just walking by. So here we go. If you're comfortable, close your eyes. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Exhale from your mouth, let it all go. Try to soften through your shoulders, soften through your jaw, and tune in to your imagination. If you would, imagine your tailbone like a root. Imagine that root spiraling down deep into the earth. Use your vivid imagination to notice what is around that root. Rocks, soil, bones maybe, bones of our ancestors, minerals, gems, creatures. And notice the roots around you, connected together under the surface. a reminder that we are all connected under the surface. And so I invite you to bring that energy from the earth up and into your body, deepening, lengthening your breath as you do, and allow that energy from the earth to fill your body, sending that energy into every cell. And if you would like to, follow along with me physically or just in your mind. Invitation to reach your arms up and overhead, reaching up toward blue sky and sunshine, and bringing that blue sky energy down and into your body. If you'd like to, bring the heels of your hands to the crown of your head. A simple gesture of opening to grace, opening to infinite possibility. Bringing your hands down, touching your forehead, your third eye, activating your deep intuition. Bringing your hands down to your throat to activate your clear communication. Taking a pause there to reflect on clarity, speaking your truth. Bringing your hands to your heart. Activating loving kindness for yourself, for each other, for all beings. And bringing your hands down to your belly, we're activating optimal health, optimal healing in our bodies and in our lives. And then bringing your hands down, make a beautiful diamond shape, coming into the awareness of that strength and clarity of the diamond, offering balance, offering equanimity, cultivating creativity in our bodies and in our lives. And finally, bringing our hands into a little gesture of peace called Gyan Mudra. We activate our own inner wisdom. And if your feet are on the ground, feel that connection to the earth coming up, blue sky and sunshine coming down, activating the clarity of your own inner wisdom. Deep breath in. And with your exhale, release it. When you're comfortable, open your eyes. Just notice the shift from that simple grounding exercise. Take a look around, and I want to invite you to come into a little moment of gratitude for the people around you, and especially for the people in your community. We're all caregivers. Serving the people in our community is giving care. Serving the greater good of our city is giving care. But what's really important, as I have discovered in the past couple years, is care for the caregivers. So important to take care of ourselves. So a big reminder to get rest, drink plenty of water, and just notice how your body's feeling, reflecting on those signals, and listening, taking really good care. Thank you so much for having me this morning. I appreciate you all.
We will dispense with the regular order of business to take up the courtesy resolution calendar. Aldermen from the 14th are recognized on the suspend the rules for the purposes of introducing Resolution 226.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Members of the board, I move to suspend the rules and introduce Resolution 226.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 14th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 10th, that we suspend the rules for the purposes of introducing courtesy resolution number 226. This is a non-debatable motion. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Cone. Alderman Narayan. Alderman Valmer. Alderwoman Velazquez. Alderwoman Sanye. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Browning. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Keys. Alderwoman Tyus.
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd. Alderman Aldridge, President Green,
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd. 14 aye votes.
By your vote, you sustain the motion of the Alderman from the 14th. This time, Alderman from the 14th, if you would like to approach the dais with your honored guests.
Thank you, Madam President and members of the board. Madam Clerk, would you please read Resolution 226?
Resolution 226 honoring Precious Berry. Whereas Precious Berry began her political journey at the age of 14 by interviewing local politicians and deepening her understanding of history, using her platform to elevate the voices of marginalized communities. And whereas she has emerged as a passionate advocate for youth empowerment, inspiring thousands of young people, particularly Black and Brown communities, to engage in civic activism and participate in decision-making process. Whereas Precious' educational accomplishment include earning a high school diploma from Riverview Gardens High School, a law enforcement criminal justice certificate from North Tech High School, and her continued studies in African and African American Studies at Washington University in St. Louis. Whereas her exceptional leadership has earned her numerous honors, including the City of Delaware Proclamation Award, the NCNW Black Girls Rock Award, the Young Shero Living Legends Award, and recognition from the featured speaker for prestigious institutes such as NAACP, Freedom Fund Dinner, and St. Louis University. Whereas Precious' professional experience as a public speaker, a youth outreach coordinator, a social justice intern, facilitator for 9 PBS underscores her commitment to simplify youth voices and address key societal challenges, including mental health, reproductive rights, and civic participation. Whereas she has founded the National Women's Political Caucus Youth Ambassador Program to inspire young women in politics, reinforcing her belief that youth should be an integral part of shaping democracy and fostering social progress. Whereas Precious worked with the St. Louis County Council Board Youth Advisory Board in her role as a social media intern for Washington University Chancellor's Office, further highlight her dedication to create spaces for inclusion and representation in leadership. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Aldermen of the City of St. Louis that we pause in our deliberation to recognize the outstanding work of Precious Berry. We further direct the Clerk of the Board of Aldermen to spread a copy of the resolution across the minutes of the proceeding, to prepare a commemorative copy of this resolution to the end so it may be presented to the appropriate by the sponsor. Introduced this 17th day of January 2025 by the Honorable Rasheen Aldridge of the 14th Ward and co-sponsor the Honorable Shameen Clark Hubbard, 10th Ward.
Thank you, Madam Clerk and members of the board. This is one of the resolutions that I'm just really excited to do, especially as we lead into Martin Luther King weekend Martin Luther King weekend and day. And, as I look at the Alderwoman from the 10th, I have that same proud smile if you know Precious Berry, because the work that she has been doing has just been phenomenal. As a young person, she could be doing anything else, but she has been intentional about making sure that her community and her region is part of the conversation. And what I love about the work that Precious has done is she's not just doing it thinking of herself. She's thinking of the people, and she's bringing other young people along with her. Every time I look at her Facebook or her Instagram and I see how she's getting other young folks involved in the community, getting other young folks involved in our political climate and our world, getting other young folks involved and uplifting them and showing that, we all can be leaders together. She may be young, but she is a force to be reckoned with. As, like I say, we enter the MLK weekend, You know, I think about Martin Luther King's dream, and I think about individuals in this city that is living that dream, and Precious Berry is literally living that dream and making sure that the work continues, because there's so much work that needs to be done. You know, I'm glad she stayed here. She had recently graduated, and she had a big choice to make, and she decided to go to WashU because she's been putting in the work and got accepted to WashU, but not just going to WashU. What I love that, again, she took that activism, she took that organizing, she took all the wanting to see a different world, and she's implemented there as she has founded and the founder of the first ever NAACP chapter at Washington University. I mean, her resume, if I send it to y'all, it's long. It goes long, it goes deep, it goes far, and it's just, you know, being able to have, I think, these moments to give folks, say, flowers as an elected official, to be able to give Precious Berry her flowers and to just say thank you from the city of St. Louis, that we see you, we appreciate what you're doing, because, again, you could just have your head down deep in the books, you could be outside, as the young people say, but you decided not to do that. You decided to try to make a difference in the community, and I know how passionate you are about it. You know, some people, you can see the realness when it comes off of them. You can see how authentic they are when they are doing the work, and with you, you do it with love, you do it with care. You make me, as somebody who's 30, like, I need to step up. You know, you've been doing this since you've been 14 years old, and I'm glad to you know, getting to know you over these last several years. I'm glad that I can call you a friend. I'm glad I can, even though I'm a little older, we've talked as you've been up in the Capitol, me, you, and Representative Prouty, you know, be kind of a little mentor. But I just want to say thank you. The city of St. Louis see the work that you're doing, and we just am so glad to have such a bright light like you, a bright beacon in the city of St. Louis that's making a difference in our city, but you bringing young people with you. And you changing the narrative that, oh, young people don't want to be involved, and you saying, no, we do, and we have a voice. I love you, and I appreciate you, and I'm just so honored to be able to give you your flowers today and give you the resolution from the Board of Aldermen. And all of us down here has your back, but thank you for everything you're doing.
Greetings, Madam President, members of the Board of Aldermen of St. Louis. I am grateful to stand before you all. As a young person, having a voice is never a dull moment to express and speak on the behalf of my generation. You know, when these opportunities come, I am often reminded by the late great Congresswoman Shirley Chisholm. I live by the motto, and I quote, "If they don't give you a seat at the folding chair, bring a folding chair." And I start to think about, what is that folding chair in today's society? To me, it looks like economic and political representation, education, youth engagement, grassroots movements, and most importantly, community power. We as residents in St. Louis have a responsibility, and that is representation, whether we see it or choose not. How can we lay out the framework, a visual structure for our community we all want to see? Not just in your backyard, but in our democracy. And when we claim our space in solidarity, how do we uplift the people who come after us? Dr. King once said in our country that it's all right to tell a man to lift himself by his own bootstraps, but it's a cruel gesture to tell a bootless man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. So we as people need to strive to understand what is true, just. And we should never have to sit alone. We bring others with us. In my activism, I've had the great challenge of continuing to make sure that youth voices have merit and taking no bounds. I am also happy to share that I have been working on, after 116 years since its founding, the NAACP has finally arrived on Washington's universities. I'm honored to serve as the founder and president. Think about that, 116 years. It took over a century from one of the most historic civil rights organizations in this country to establish a chapter at one of the most prestigious universities in this nation. And that wasn't by accident. This moment isn't just about an organization. It's about what an organization represents: equity, advocacy, and justice. It's about the voices that has been absent from the conversations that directly impact them. It's about the barriers to representation that still exist in institutions like WashU. And most importantly, it's about what happens when we refuse to wait for permission and bring our own voting chairs. So thank you to the City of St. Louis for allowing me to be here. Your dedication and hard work goes beyond the limits, and I am grateful to have you all serve in our communities. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Alderwoman from the 10th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Precious, I am immeasurably proud of you. You know that you never cease to amaze me. Being here today, you always present in the same unique and authentic way that you were created to do. I love that you walk in that. I love that you lead in that. I love that you are uncompromised in that. It was mentioned earlier today about it being the verge and the weekend of Martin Luther King. You know, we celebrate Martin Luther King 365. But this year, the theme is Mission Possible. Sweetheart, you are a living testimony of mission possible. You continue to walk in that spirit. You have people that have your back 10 toes down, and you know that even if you never talk to them, I know you know in your spirit they are a phone call away. In other words, we don't play about you. So you make sure that you walk in that authority. You keep changing and not letting it change you. You change systems, change organizations, change programs, change spaces everywhere you step foot in, and never let it change you, sweetheart. You are the example. You are the example for mothers of little black girls like me and new grandmothers of little black girls like me. I pray that they get to look up and not only watch this, but watch you in other spaces from, like you said, when you were 14 and beyond. And then we can't wait to see what God has in store for you, baby. And we're going to be right here cheering and rooting for you. With that, Madam President, I would like to ask if we can move this resolution in bank.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 7th, that we place Resolution 226 in bank. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution is now in bank, which means that every single member of the Board of Aldermen has signed on as a sponsor. Further discussion? Alderwoman from the 7th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I know Precious knew I was not going to have her here and not speak to her and say hello. I have seen so many different community spaces for so long, consistently, from high school to now. And I mean, I think the Alderwoman from the 10th, she summarized it perfectly. I don't know if I could say it better, but I do want you to know that those of us, continue to change systems as you continue to challenge the status quo, as you continue to be an advocate when you run into challenges, when you run into barriers, when you might have moments of loneliness, when you might choose to do something that might not be so popular, but you know it's right. I hope you know that there are some of us who have your back regardless. There are some of us who believe in you regardless. I mean, again, I can't say it better than we don't play about you. If you have any type of problems, and I know even from small things, I've seen you at events, I've seen people make sure you get home safe, make sure I'm keeping a watchful eye on you, make sure we're making sure that, you're aware of all the things that are, sometimes involved in politics that are more behind the scenes. So I just want to thank you for being a pillar of inspiration. I want to remind you that you are still just at the beginning, and that's one of the most powerful things to me about you is you are actually just starting to touch the tip of what you will do, and we will all be so much better for it. So I want to just encourage you to continue to do it. Keep calling my phone. Let's stay close. Let's stay in relationship, and just know that you are inspiring those who have come before you and those who are coming after you, both ways. And so thank you for all of your inspiration. I also want to note that she does have a book. She did not mention it, but she does have a book. I would encourage all of those at home and even us who are sitting here to purchase her book. My sis is published, okay? She's an author. We didn't say that, but that's true. And again, that's just one of the many things that she has done. I could go on and on, but just continue, sis. Keep going. We believe in you. We love you, and we are all going to be so much better for it.
Any further discussion? I want to say that I've just been so amazed and inspired by watching your journey. You know, it seems like every time I log on to social media, you're up to something new and innovative, always community driven. I also see you in the community constantly. You would think that you were an alder person given the amount of events that you are at on a continual basis. So keep it up. You know, like the alderwoman from the 7th, the alderwoman from the 10th, the alderman from the 14th said, you know, we know that sometimes when you're very active in community and doing work, you can get roadblocks or pushback put in front of you, but we got your back. We have loved watching you grow up and grow into, you know, from a teen into a young woman who is continuing to live her values every single day. So we appreciate you, and we're so honored to have you down with us today. Anyone who would like a photo, please join us on the steps. Can you send those to me? Yeah. Okay.
Are you introducing Come on.
Alderwoman from the 10th, you are recognized on the motion to adopt the courtesy resolution consent calendar.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we adopt the courtesy resolutions consent calendar.
It's been moved by the alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the alderman from the 14th, that we adopt the courtesy resolution consent calendar. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Introduction of honored guests. Alderwoman from the 10th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Before they leave the room, I would like to have as my honored guest the family of Precious, her village. Why? Because, you know, I like to brag. ABC Car Wash, they are the owners of ABC Car Wash. I know a lot of people are walking around, running around today, and your car look a mess. So let me put this plug in. You can go right there in the 10th Ward to the corner of Union and Martin Luther King, ABC Car Wash, and get yourself all cleaned up. I'm proud to serve as their auto lady too, and I'm excited that they're here this morning. I also would like to have as my honored guest, Mr. I'm sorry, Justin Minguez. Mr. Justin Minguez is a senior at MICDS, and today he is the proud intern of our former clerk, Mr. Dave Sweeney. So again, as my honored guest today, welcome to the Board of Aldermen, Mr. Minguez. I'm sure your future is bright, and we look forward to seeing and hearing from you soon.
Loving all of this youth energy today. Alderman from the 4th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I'd like to have as my honored guest today the men and women of SEIU. Stick around, there'll be more later. Thank you.
A further introduction of honored guests. Alderman from the 4th.
Thank you, Madam President. Board. Again, I would like to have as my honor guest Ms. Precious Berry, but also they're not just union individuals, they like family to me. All the hardworking men and women of SEIU, you know, we go way back, like 2 flats on the Cadillac, since Fight for 15, and then eventually work with SEIU. I see Shantae, I see Kevin, I see so many people up there at SEIU. I appreciate y'all, all the work that you all are doing. I always have y'all back, and thank you guys for being
A further introduction of honored guests. Seeing none, Alderwoman from the 10th, you're recognized on the approval of the minutes from Friday, January 10th, 2025.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we approve the minutes from Friday, January 10th, 2025.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we approve from Friday, January 10th, 2025. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Report of city officials.
Report of city officials can be found in A, B, C, and D of the agenda and has been placed in the Google Drive for your review. Dear members of the board, I have the pleasure to submit the following individuals for reappointment to the Mental Health Board: the reappointment of Julia Lopez, the reappointment of Caroline Jackson, and the reappointment of Donna Schmidt. I respectfully request your approval of this appointment. Sincerely, Tashara O. Jones, Mayor.
Alderwoman from the 13th, you're recognized on Mayor Jones' appointments to the Mental Health Board.
Thank you, Madam President. I asked for the appointment of Julius Lopez and Carolyn Jackson, Donald Schmidt to the Mental Health Board, and I asked that it be referred to the Health Committee.
Is there a second? It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 13th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 11th, that we send the mayor's appointment to the Mental Health Board to the Health and Human Development Committee. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, please send those appointments to the Health and Human Development Committee.
So noted. Dear members of the board, I have the pleasure to submit the following individuals for appointment to the Central West End Southeast Special Business District: the reappointment of Jeffrey Minor, the reappointment of Linda Emmenegger, and the reappointment of Yusuf Scoggin. I respectfully request your approval of this appointment. Sincerely, Tashara O. Jones, Mayor.
Alderman from the 9th, you're recognized on Mayor Jones' appointments to the Central West End Southeast Special Business District.
Thank you. I would move that we accept Mayor Jones' appointments to the Central West End Southeast Special Business.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 9th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 10th, that we approve Mayor Jones' appointments to the Central West End Southeast Special Business District. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
That's the extent of report of city officials.
We can dispense with line items 8 through 11. First reading of board bills.
We have none.
We can dispense with line item 12, reference to committee of board bills.
We have none.
Dispense with line item 13, second reporting and report of standing committee.
The following board bill was reported out of the Special Committee on Reducing Red Tape. Board Bill 107 as amended, sponsored by Alderwoman Velazquez, Alderman Narayan, Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, Alderwoman Keys, and Alderwoman Sanye. An ordinance amending Section 11.42.040 of the Chapter 11.42 of the Revised Code of the City of St. Louis to allow cottage foods to be sold outside of the individual's home. The following board bills were reported out of HUD's committee with the due pass recommendation. Board Bill 157, sponsored by Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, an ordinance recommended by the Planning Commission and approving an amended community unit plan for an area located in the city of St. Louis comprising a portion of the Washington University Danforth campus. Board Bill 166, committee sub, sponsored by Alderwoman Spencer, an ordinance establishing an earnings and payroll tax reimbursement account in support of the project described herein, approving a development and performance agreement related to such project, authorizing execution thereof, authorizing certain other actions by city officials. That's the extent of second reading report of standing committees.
Madam Clerk, if you could please make sure I'm added as a sponsor to
107, so noted.
report of special committees.
We have none.
Board bills for perfection consent.
Board Bill 144, sponsored by Alderwoman Keys, Alderwoman Schweitzer, Alderman Browning, Alderman Balmer, and Alderwoman Velazquez. An ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment authorizing and directing the mayor and the comptroller of the city of St. Louis on behalf of the city to enter into and execute an agreement or agreements with the Missouri Department of Transportation for the receipt of MoDOT Highway Safety Grant Fund, appropriating the sum of $80,000 containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 147, sponsored by Alderwoman Schweitzer, amending ordinance number 71902 to strike the name Virginia Avenue and in lieu thereof replace it with street name Vermont Avenue. Board Bill 148, sponsored by Alderwoman Schweitzer, an ordinance establishing various stop sites at the intersection of Bowen Street and Livingston Drive in the First Ward, regulating all traffic traveling on streets meeting at such intersection containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 149, sponsored by Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, an ordinance establishing a two-way stop site at the intersection of Holemont Avenue and the Holemont Tracks, regulating all traffic traveling north and southbound on Holemont Avenue at the intersection of Holemont Avenue and Holemont Tracks, containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 151, committee sub, sponsored by Alderwoman Schweitzer, pursuant to ordinance number 70333, as amended by ordinance number 71394, an ordinance directing the director of streets to install speed humps to calm the flow of traffic on the 38 and 3900 blocks of Bowen Street in the First Ward. Board Bill 142, sponsored by Alderman Cone, an ordinance recommended and approved by the Airport Commission Board of Public Service and the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, authorizing and directing the Director of Airports, the President of Board of Public Service, and the Comptroller of the City of St. Louis, owner and operator of St. Louis Lambert International Airport, to enter into and execute and on behalf of the city the amended and restated memorandum of agreement between Southwest Airlines Company and the City of St. Louis, Missouri, which is attached hereto as amendment attachment 1 made a part hereof. That's the extent of board bills for perfection consent calendar.
Alderwoman from the 10th, you're recognized on the motion to adopt the board bills for the perfection consent calendar.
Thank you, Madam President. Members of the board, I move that we adopt the board bills for perfection consent calendar.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 7th, that we adopt the board bills for the perfection consent calendar. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Board bills for perfection.
We have none.
We can dispense with line item 16B, report of engrossment.
Board Bill 128 as amended and Board Bill 141.
Third reading and final passage, board bills consent.
At the request of the sponsor, Board Bill 128 as amended will be placed on third reading calendar. Board Bill 141 is on the only board bill on the consent calendar.
Alderwoman from the 10th, you're recognized on the motion to adopt the third reading and final passage of board bills on the consent calendar.
Thank you, Madam President. Members of the board, I move that we adopt the third reading and final passage of board bills consent calendar.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd. We adopt the third reading and final passage of board bills on the consent calendar. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Cone. Alderman Narayan. Alderman Valmer. Alderwoman Velazquez. Aye. Alderwoman Sanye. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Browning. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Aye. Alderwoman Keys, Alderwoman Tyus, Alderwoman Boyd.
Aye.
Thank you. Alderwoman Boyd,
Aye.
Alderman Aldridge, President Green,
Aye.
Alderman Vollmer. 14 aye votes.
By your vote, you sustain the motion from the Alderwoman from the 10th to third read and finally pass the aforementioned bills. Third reading.
Point of order. Point of order.
Alderwoman from the 12th, please state your point of order.
I think she counted Alderwoman Boyd's vote as mine because I was trying to vote, but I heard her count her twice. I am an aye vote.
I got it.
Okay. Madam Clerk, please make note of that. Thank you, Alderwoman.
Thank you.
Third reading and final passage of board bill.
Board Bill 128 as amended, sponsored by Alderman Orion, President Green, Alderman Cone, Alderman Browning, Alderwoman Velazquez, Alderwoman Sanye, Alderwoman Schweitzer, and Alderman Aldridge. An ordinance amending Chapter 3.99 of the Revised Code of the City of St. Louis to clarify the applicability of living wage requirements.
Alderman from the 4th, you're recognized on the third reading and final passage of Board Bill 128 as amended.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. This is a simple board bill that changes the definitions to ensure that everyone falls under these living wage requirements. The reason that I pulled this off of the consent calendar was not because I think that we need to debate this any further. It's just the timing of this was so interesting that I wanted to go ahead and pull it off to note that, especially with members of SEIU in the room here. This bill came about as something that they were pushing for. They had indicated that members of their union were being misclassified, and there was essentially wage theft going on. And this being, kind of the eve of Martin Luther King weekend, I wanted to point out that one of the last speeches that Martin Luther King gave before he was assassinated was to members of SEIU. He called SEIU his favorite union. And he said, and I quote, "If all of labor would emulate what you have been doing over the years, our nation would be closer to victory in the fight to eliminate poverty and injustice." And I thought that it was fitting to pull this off just to take note of that. And I want to thank the men and women who pushed for this and continue to push for these things and to make ensure that people don't just survive, but that people can actually thrive, and that work has dignity to it. And I want to thank them. And with that, I ask for your favorable consideration. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Alderman, I don't think you made a motion to adopt, to third read and finally pass.
I also move that we third read and finally pass Board Bill number 128 as amended.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 4th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 1st, that we third read and finally pass Board Bill 128 as amended. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Schweitzer. Aye. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Cone.
Aye.
Alderman Narayan.
Aye.
Alderman Vollmer. Alderwoman Velazquez. Aye. Alderwoman Sanye. Alderwoman Spencer. Aye. Alderman Browning. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Aye. Alderwoman Keys. Alderwoman Tyus.
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd.
Aye.
I'm sorry, Alderwoman, I didn't see your picture. Alderwoman Boyd.
Hold on, I'm on my phone.
Alderman Aldridge. President Green.
Aye.
Alderman Vollmer. Alderwoman Boyd.
Aye.
15 aye votes.
By your vote, you sustain the motion from the Alderman from the 4th to third reading and finally pass Board Bill 128 as amended. Report if finally passed and signed by the President.
Board Bill 141 and Board Bill 128 as amended.
All other business being suspended, the president shall in open session affix her signature hereto and that these may become law. First reading of resolutions in reference to committees.
We have none.
We can dispense with line item 20. Second reading of resolutions, committee reports and adoptions.
Report from the Public Safety Committee, Resolution 186, sponsored by Alderman Orion.
Alderman from the 4th, you are recognized on resolution 186.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. At this point, I would request that resolutions 186 through 193 be put onto the informal calendar.
Madam Clerk, if you could please make note of that.
So noted.
Miscellaneous and unfinished business.
We have none.
Announcements.
Monday, January the 20th, 2025, the office will be closed in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King holiday. Tuesday, January the 21st, 2025, HUDs will have a committee hearing in the Kennedy Room at 11 a.m. Tuesday, January the 21st, legislation will have a meeting in the, via webinar at 2 p.m. Wednesday, January the 22nd, 2025, public infrastructure will have a meeting in the Kennedy Room at 3:30 p.m. Thursday, January the 23rd, Health and Human Development will have a meeting via webinar at 9 a.m. Friday, January the 24th, 2025, full board meeting in the chambers at 10 a.m. That's the extent of the announcement.
Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Alderman from the 9th.
Yes, I just wanted to announce that Board of Adjustment and conditional use hearings are now online. This is something that we were hoping to get done by a piece of legislation, but it turned out all we needed to do is talk to the department. So for those of you who are trying to keep track of things, or if you missed one of those meetings for your ward, good news, those are now being put online, and I think it's a great step forward for the transparency in our government to have these meetings public and available without having to make a sunshine request. So very excited about this and happy watching.
Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Seeing none, Alderwoman from the 10th, you are recognized on the motion to excuse.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. All members were present this morning.
Alderwoman from the 10th, you're recognized on the motion to adjourn.
Got to make sure I got the right date. Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we adjourn until Friday, January 24th, 2025 in the Board of Aldermen chambers.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we adjourn until Friday, January 24th, 2025 in the Board of Aldermen chambers. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.